So today, we're really going to introduce you to Gallup strength coaching, but we're going to do it by means of what the impact and the thinking around Gallup is all about. And so we've titled this session really about helping others become the best they can be. Our view and the research from Gallup is really unequivocal. Strengths, or a positive psychology approach to human development, is the best opportunity for most of us to become the best versions of who we can be. Our ability to achieve our power and edge, our ability to contribute to the world around us, to our friends, our family, to the corporates and the businesses that we work for. We think strengths is the best opportunity to do so. And that's what a Gallup strength coach does. They help people identify, or what we call name strengths. They help people to claim what they potentially could be good at, and then they help them to aim it or develop those strengths to be the best version of themselves. Often what we term, reaching and developing their power and edge. Sorry, guys, if I can just ask you to put you on mute if you have background noise. Thanks, Magriet. So by way of introduction, my name is Yendor Felgate. We run a business called BHG, the Being Human Group. The name should give you a little bit of indication of what we're passionate about. We like working with human beings. So people always say to me, so what is the market for coaching when it comes to Gallup and the certification? Well, if you estimate that there are over 2 billion of us across the planet, so anybody that is a human being, we think we can connect with and coach and develop from that perspective. By way of introduction, you'll see behind me on my screen are my top 5 strengths, and that'll give you a bit of an indication of how I'm going to facilitate and engage with you today. There are 34 strengths or categories of talent, and we really want to look at those that are most dominant, in other words, the highest intensity. And in my top 5, you'll see 2 colors. Both a purple and a green, and that gives you an indication that my dominance is based on execution, getting the job done. So by 5:30 we will be done. And then the green, which is strategic thinking. And so as I go through the presentation today, I'll be trying to anticipate and give you options and see patterns and give you alternatives as we start to work with the material. So achiever, for those that don't know strengths, that's an execution or completion strength. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean that I'm successful. It just means that I really like to tick things off and get the job done. Deliberative is a decision-making strength. It's a way that I execute. It's a way that I look at risk. So if you can imagine bungee jumping and you standing on the ledge and you're about to catapult headfirst into the chasm below, somebody with deliberative would make sure that that bungee cord is safely attached to your ankles. So in that context, a really way cool strength. Strategic is not Michael Porter and all the MBA stuff that we know and love and have come to learn, but it's all about optionality, looking at patterns, connecting the dots, and I'll be helping you guys think through that today. Learner is what it says on the box. It's about curiosity, about the learning process for me. And interestingly enough, I use my learner to build relationships with others. It's my curiosity mechanism. And I am mostly curious about the people around me and who I work with. And then ideation is I'm the type of person that you bring to a brainstorm. So I'm quite good at just catalyzing, unblocking, bringing sort of, new ways of thinking to the party. But as Magriet reminds me, ideas are great, but not all ideas are relevant or necessarily good. So judgment is always required when it comes to these things. And we never one strength at a time. We complex combinations of them all. And so that's what a strength coach would do, is help me to identify my strengths, help me develop, and help me potentially to use those strengths in a better way. And so from a Gallup strength coaching point of view, we think that the coaching methodology is far more intentional than we've seen in other coaching methodologies. Now, please don't read that into me being negative or dismissive of other coaching methodologies. We're not. We are a very broad church from a BHG point of view, and we totally respect what others do. It's just that if you want a comparison or what makes Gallup different from a coaching approach point of view, it's that intentionality. Magriet, over to you.
Thanks, Yendor. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to put the faces to the names and the email addresses. If you don't know by now, my name is Magriet Mouton, and I work with Yendor at BHG. So my top 5 strengths are number 1, individualization. So I just absolutely I absolutely love connecting with people. I love to see people's what motivates people, what gets them excited, and why they do what they do. Then I also have learner, same as Yendor, but I use my learner for technology. I also have belief. Now, belief is all about belief is all about values, and there's things that I really feel strongly about. Then I also have connectedness, and you've probably experienced my connectedness in the emails that we send, and that I just keep checking in. I want to make sure that you've got all the information that you need in order for us to serve you best. And then I've got maximizer, and people with maximizer love to take things from average to excellence. Thanks, Yendor.
Great, that's a great introduction. Guys, we're going to give you an opportunity to connect with us. So Magriet's going to run a little bit of a poll. So it's a bit like democracy. So vote for your favorite or your best answer as to why you are here today. What is your interest in what we do this afternoon? And Magriet will give you some options just so that we know how to focus and tailor our approach for you. Magriet, if you could do the poll, please. So the question really is, what brought you to the GGSC? For those that don't know, that's the Gallup Global Strength Coaching Certification session that we're running live today. The options are, and we're going to ask you to force you to make a decision as to what's most important. I want to help others develop and grow. I want to learn more about strengths. I'm looking for a globally recognized certification. Other, and you can please write that down in the chat button so that we can just meet your requirements. So I want to help others develop and grow. I want to learn more about strengths. I'm looking for a globally recognized certification, and other. Of course, this other is all of the above. You're very welcome to put that into the chat. So Magriet, I've taken and the jump, and I've also voted myself.
Excellent, Yendor. Right. I see Yvette. Do you want to go ahead and read, Yendor?
Yeah. So Yvette's saying, to formalize what I do naturally and intuitively, I think that's a great point, Yvette. The idea about, when people say strengths, what we want is a tool to be able to identify, but intuitively, people get attracted to what they're good at, right? And a coach is just there to help leverage and emphasize that, but in a more formal and in a process-driven way. In other words, there's a method to our madness, which I think is quite good. So it's taking intuition into a process way where we can be effective as coaches. So deeply understand that. And I think what we're going to talk about today makes a whole lot of sense. Bertie says, I need to understand your point of departure. I'm an ICF coach, but just maybe there's more to what you have to offer. Bertie, that's great. We're also ICF coaches, so that's good. What we're doing today is just sharing our coaching methodology with those that are interested. It's a coaching methodology that comes from a positive psychology point of view, and it is really been pioneered by Gallup around the Clifton Strength Assessment that we're going to talk about. So in the world of coaching, there are many methodologies. Ours is one that fits into that pocket called positive psychology. It's developmental, but based around taking your talent to your strengths. What it can add to you as an ICF coach is a different methodology. Often our coaches will integrate strengths with what they already know, and that's perfectly acceptable. And a really great departure point. People love the Clifton Strength Assessment because it's a validated non-psychometric which has great face validity when you share it as a coach. And of course, the intentionality and the recommendations around the Clifton Strength Assessment means that we think coaches just get a whole lot more material around the action items or the things people can do to develop their strengths into something a little bit more effective. So if you're really an ICF coach, I think this could add to your armory of approaches, tools, methodologies, and perhaps assessments to give you a sense.
Yes, to add to that, there's credits, there's CCE, continuous professional development credits as well, Bertie, so you may be interested in that, but we can continue that offline. I'm going to end the poll.
Sorry, you're breaking up.
Okay, I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, so the poll said 50% want to help others and develop and grow. You're in the right place. More about strengths, get that globally recognized certification. And then we've had a question. I don't know of a comparison with whole brain practitioners. We'll have to look. Gallup has issued a whole lot of comparisons with other assessments that you may be interested in, things like insights or Enneagram. I know there's definitely comparative material on that. And many of our coaches use both strengths and Enneagram, depending on the situation and what they're trying to achieve. So that's okay. We're aware of Cobus Neethling and the great work he does, but we'll just have to look for a comparative for you. Okay, so that gives us a good sense of how to jump in. Magriet, if you bring up the slide pack from that. Thanks, Dario. We got it. And welcome from Mozambique. It's great to have connections from outside the country, and we'll certainly hopefully give you some ideas about how to improve your skills level. Okay, Magriet, if you can move on. So what about us? So what actually do we do? So as I mentioned, we're the Being Human group. We are both recognized by the ICF as professional coaches, plus also we're the strategic licensee for Gallup for Africa. In actual fact, we were the first international partner Gallup ever appointed outside of the US. So in many ways, we've been taking the lead across the Africa piece and being a Gallup partner. And in some ways, we've also been the guinea pig, right? So we've learned with Gallup on how to become a multiple country rollout of this certification. So our aim really in that context is to empower people. For us, coaching is that wonderful methodology about really helping others with their lives. We want to positively disrupt workplaces because we think traditional ways of managing and leading just don't add up anymore. The world has changed. I don't need to tell you this, right? COVID has materially altered the way we think about relationships. And we want to positively disrupt the place in such a way that we can end up with workplaces that are far more kinder to each other in ways that work better. And in order to do that, we want to change the way people lead by using the science of strengths. Yeah, we think strengths, if you lean into what you're potentially good at, is a much better way of living your life than to continuously worry about your weaknesses or things that you don't have or capabilities that you are not interested in and never will be able to pick up. So the reassurance I can give you about your strengths is that they're unique to you like a fingerprint. If you develop them, you're going to be the best version of yourself, and that's powerful. And we don't have to worry about being well-rounded in all things to all people, because from the research that we've seen from Gallup, that's a mythology. The idea that we can be this well-rounded person, all things to all people, and go on any training course and become a rocket scientist and I think is going to make life quite difficult. Rather, let's lean into our strengths and do things in the way that makes sense to us. And you can imagine, if you've ever had a great day at work, it's because you're playing mostly to your strengths. And those days where nothing has gone right, it's because life is probably asking you to play in areas where perhaps you may not be good at. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've trained over 250 Gallup strength coaches across the Africa piece. So that's around 4 per country, if you take 54 countries in Africa. And remembering this is a global certification. So we have people sitting in their beach houses at Hermanus, coaching people in the UK, Saudi Arabia, and literally almost outer Mongolia. And it's really been fantastic to see how our alumni have taken the certification and just how successful they are. We've had some people write books during COVID. Another one of our alumni is a presidential advisor in Nigeria, and it looks like he may end up in cabinet after the elections next Monday. Margaret Barry is our oldest alumni. She certified at the tender age of 78, and she's now coaching some prince in Saudi Arabia. How that happened, I'm not sure Margaret knows, but our coaches are getting around and making a great impact. Thanks, Magriet. So why are you here? We've given the poll and we've got a great indication, and we'll talk a lot about why we think Gallup Strength Coaching can make a difference. But let's ask you guys a question. You'll see two pictures here, and if you have children like I do who love watching National Geographic, you may know the answer to this. But what is the ocean's loudest creature? By default, most people will say the whale because you look at size and you look at the picture and it gives you some clues, right? This is exactly the same with people and their talents. Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's not so obvious. In the chat button, does anybody know what is the ocean's loudest creature? I'll give you a hint. It's not the whale, just in case you were totally sucked into the picture on the right-hand side. Does anybody know? Magriet, we've got people that are hesitant to shout out. Let's see. No. Okay. Cindy's saying water. Okay, that's a left field answer. But I can.
We've never had that one before.
I know, that's the ocean, right? Okay. Just when you thought you got this exercise sorted, somebody with a different talent comes in and gives you a left field answer. All right, it's not water. I've never thought of it in that way, but Cindy, I can see what you're thinking there. Adults are too shy to shout out. If you do this exercise with kids under the age of 10, man, they climb into the chat button and you can't shut them up. But in actual fact, the loudest creature on the ocean is the little guy on the left-hand side of your picture. It's called a pistol shrimp. And you can see it's got quite a large claw. And so when predators come and threaten it and about to eat it, and remembering it's only the size of about a 20-cent piece, South African 20-cent piece, that is. So it's a minute little thing. When predators threaten to eat it, it brings in water into the claw and it shoots it out at high volume. And that creates an underwater bang and scares the predator off. And that's the one clue about talent is we need to identify your talents because sometimes you may not be sure of them. They may not be obvious to you. You may have some blind spots, or you may intuitively think you know what they are, and to name them is pretty useful. But that's not the end of the story around the pistol shrimp. Fascinating. What you don't know is the pistol shrimp is actually blind. So the reality is whilst he's got this underwater noise cannon type of thing that scares predators off, he can't see predators. And that's a little bit of a handicap to evolution, as you could probably understand. And so in the pistol shrimp's world, they've partnered with a little thing called the goby fish. The goby fish has no natural defenses against predators, but it has very large eyes. So you can start to see how this complementary partnership works. Large eyes spots the predator, nudges the pistol shrimp scares the hell out of the predator, life goes on, and both species thrive. And this is the other great lesson from strengths, is once you know what your strengths are, and you know which area to lean into, you're going to have areas where you're not going to be potentially good at. And that's the great trigger to start to think about complementary partnerships. And so the strength rubric is based on the following. We all have talent and strengths to contribute, but we contribute and develop even better when we work with others in a way that makes sense. And you can start to see how things like complementarity and development can really work well with what the certification really teaches you, is how to coach individuals from a strength point of view, how to work with teams and groups, and how to work with managers and leaders. All right. Yes, there's always some. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Allergy accepted. I can certainly understand why that would preclude this one. I can loan you a small adolescent boy who loves National Geographic for your next party if you need the answers to these, right? Okay, excellent. So two key things. Once we identify strengths, and sometimes it's not always obvious, we can develop them. The other one is that we're not going to be great at everything, so complementary partnerships is good. And that's the foundation of what we think individual development, team development and how to lead, working with managers and leaders becomes so important. Thanks for. And so each person is unique with a unique set of strengths. So you all have your own dominance from 1 to 34. The chances of you having the same top 5 strengths, like I've shown you and Magriet's introduced you to, as somebody else is 1 in 34 million. So this is really a uniqueness factor. And even if you have the same strength in common as somebody else, how you use that strength or how it shows up for you will be bespoke to you. And the Clifton Strength Assessment that we use as Gallup coaches is the identification of that uniqueness signifier. So it's not a cut and paste. Depending on how you answer the assessment, it will give you feedback around each strength bespoke to you. And this is what makes debriefing the Clifton Strength Assessment a whole lot easier. So if you've ever tried to debrief other psychometrics, you instantaneously into an arm wrestle match about somebody who doesn't want to be, as one of our clients said, a pink flamingo. And what they meant by that is they don't want to be an Enneagram 7, 8, or 9, or stereotyped, or put into a box, or squeezed into a box and told that they always behave in the following way. The Clifton Strength Assessment doesn't do that. It says, this is what you're good at. You can choose to show up in these space. If you do that, it's the best chance of being the best version of yourself. So it's a uniqueness factor. And this is why we don't use it for a recruitment tool. Because obviously, if you're unique to you, asking the question about, so what, how does that uniqueness relate to a job description doesn't make much sense. Well, what I can tell you from a Clifton Strength point of view is it's a predictor of behavior. So I have a fair sense of how you're going to show up, either in strategic thinking or executing, and the other domains would be influencing and relationship building. Thanks, Magriet. So we're going to show you a little bit of a video about what the impact of Gallup strength coaches or coaching can make.
Strengths has changed my life because I am not the type of smart that is conventionally celebrated. It took a coach to tell me that I'm what's called relationally smart. And for a long time, I tried to fit into the conventional molds of society. I started off as a stockbroker for about 8 years, and I definitely wasn't necessarily in a role that was suited to my talents, but for so long, I wanted to be something that wasn't necessarily a good fit for me.
I spent 20 years being very aware of all the things that I am not, and I invested time and effort and energy into changing those things and yielded little results. So when strengths came along, it was a complete mind shift. It was, we're going to focus on what's amazing about you, and the success I've had from that in the last 2 years has been amazing. It has trumped my last 20.
I really appreciate people feeling like they're seen and valued and heard. Strengths has helped me feel that way, but I think where it's really been life-changing for me is when I can sit down with somebody and they start to apologize for the things that they're not good at, and I say, you have value, you bring this to our organization, you do this every day, and that's amazing. And when I can have that type of conversation and watch somebody just pause and sometimes break down in tears and say thank you for seeing and hearing me, to me that's really powerful stuff.
I think it starts just by looking at the word coach. Coach in Hungarian actually means a container. It's a safe space where people can explore and be themselves and think about solutions. A strengths coach brings it all to a different level, in my view, because a strengths coach coaches from an appreciative mindset. It all really begins with helping your coachee within the safe space explore their successes, things that have worked well, where they have been resilient throughout challenges, for instance. So exploring that with the coachee helps them understand their substance and their real raw talents.
So you've got this amazing assessment, but it doesn't stop there. You have to be able to look at that and think about practical application. And sometimes that's hard to do as an individual because you're still kind of learning about what strengths is all about. And I think what a great coach does is help those things come alive for you and really helping you think about what are things that keep you up at night? What are things that you struggle with? What do you think your strengths get in the way? How do your strengths get more optimized?
Value in having a strengths coach, I think, is having a mirror and a partner and a confidant and someone that can help you just increase your self-awareness, can ask you questions that make you think in a way you've never thought before, and help you grow and develop in the direction that you want to go. It's a safe place where you can think about how you want to develop, try some new things out, test them out with someone that is non-judgmental, not critical, really on your side, a partner that can help you grow and develop. And then when you leave that coaching conversation, you feel confident that you can try something different. And when you try something different, you can bring it back into that relationship and say, do you know what, that went really well. Help me to develop further in that particular aspect.
What I love is watching people transform over time. So it's interesting when people get into coaching, they almost feel that it's a selfish decision. They quickly discover it's not just for them, that it really spills over into every aspect of their life. So they become better parents, better spouses, better partners, better colleagues, better leaders, better managers. Watching them kind of step up into their responsibilities with more strength and more confidence, more power. I think that's what I love about coaching. The reality is when we know who we are just going to be better at what we do. So when we understand the dynamics of how we get things done or how we foster relationships or how we think, there's just something magic when we understand who we are because it translates then into what we do every day. So having those conversations with people, helping them think through really and truly what it is about them that gives them energy and fulfillment, and having them put that into some sort of practice as they think about what they do every day, that's a fun job.
So that's a fun job, and we certainly agree with that. Perhaps you guys can just in the chat or do a bit of a shout out. Did anything in the video clip resonate or connect with you? Yeah, if you have to go for it.
No, I don't want to interrupt someone else's chat.
No problem. Go for it.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll interrupt Miss Naledi and then invite her in. I just, I think the common thing for me is quite exciting, which is you already are. So it's kind of, can I help you? Can I help who you already are to be better than you think you can be? It's kind of taking everything that we are,
yes,
and through coaching. And I love that kind of Hungarian definition of coaching as the container. I love that.
The safe space. Yeah. No, excellent. And Yvette, thank you. That certainly does resonate. Ms. Naledi, perhaps you can come online. I acknowledge your chat, but I'm just not too sure what you're mentioning about previously 2 to 3 days or something. So just if you could just share that with us. Ms. Naledi?
Hi.
Hi.
No, I'm not sure. I can't remember if it was 2 to 3 days that I attended that session. But
Okay.
it was more than 1 day, yes.
Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about what the Gallup certification looks like now in 2022. So just bear with that. But that you're doing some career coaching sessions with grade 12s, I think that's just such important work. If we look at just, helping students really start to suss out what they could potentially be good at and helping them to make great career choices. But Cindy's saying an appreciative mindset. Yeah, that's good. And Nkem saying coaching quickly becomes more about helping other people. Absolutely. I think if you're called to work with others and make a positive impact, then the certification is for you. Thanks, Magriet. We can go back to the slide pack. Really great insights, and I see what resonated. So strengths, and many people are starting to put their finger on it, is really a study of performance excellence. Thanks, Wilbur. I like the idea of encouraging and helping others. finding their own way. Excellent. So Gallup is really about the study of performance excellence. Focusing on strengths development leads to that excellence. And you can imagine any type of sporting example that you want. Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, which I know Magriet's favorite, great tennis players. They've really focused on what they do well, in different ways to achieve number one world status. Areas of lesser talent never develop into areas of strength. So if you don't have something, guys, it's hard to spend time there. It takes a lot of energy and stress to spend time there, and it may never develop into excellence. Understanding and knowing those areas is a great first start. And what is fantastic about strengths is you can use what you do have to work in areas where you may not have a strength. So strengths can jump categories and domains, and depending on how you use them, they can become intentional in areas where you don't. Right, yeah, Bertie, absolutely. The more a person knows about themselves, it just does accelerate the coaching journey. And then the final point, and I've talked a little bit about the goby fish and the pistol shrimp, is we need others to know our talents and strengths so that we become the best that is in us. Thanks, Magriet. And so what's in it for us to do all this type of stuff? The research that Gallup has been running, and they're world famous for it. They have 2 Nobel laureates of behavioral economics on their research council, has indicated that people that focus on their strengths, that stuff that they potentially are good at, should, no surprise, give them 3 times as more likely to report having an excellent quality of life. And intuitively, that makes, I think that probably should make sense to everybody, really. You work to what you're great at. That's your power and edge. It's the easy stuff. The heavy lifting occurs quite easy there. You're 3 times as likely to have an excellent quality of life. Understanding that you can use strengths in the workplace, at home, wherever you connect and contribute as a human being. Then the upside for those corporates and businesses that invest in strengths, and there's always a chartered accountant somewhere looking for the stat, is that if you focus on using your strengths, you're 6 times as likely to be engaged in your job. So that connection between what you're good at and getting your job done well, 6 times is more likely, and every organization is looking for the magic bullet that can help improve engagement. Engagement is an indicator of how committed and motivated staff are. Clearly, if you enjoy work and you're more committed and you're more motivated, you bring more discretionary effort to the workplace, and of course, productivity goes up. And interestingly enough, over the COVID pandemic, employee engagement scores held firm. But what dropped off the scale was well-being. And we see a direct link between people using strengths around engagement and well-being to remain productive, resilient, balanced, and navigating the complexities of COVID, and those that just worked harder and harder and harder with a diminishing rate of return in their well-being bucket. And so a strength coach can really help people start to balance using their strengths in all areas of their life, holistic view of person, whether it's well-being, engagement, performance, contribution, all of those can really be a great upside when it comes to using strengths. We're going to show you another small video, because it all begins with the identification of strengths, what a strength is, how we identify it using the assessment, and there are multiple versions of the assessment. I'll just give you an indication, and this is against which the Gallup Strength Certification teaches you to use the assessment to coach individuals, teams, managers, and leaders. Magriet, if you could do your magic.
Is zillion a real number? No, zillion's not a real number, but it is a word you might be tempted to use to describe all of the talents found in people. Creating a list of every talent is an impossible task. But if you step back, you'll see that talents have commonalities that allow us to group them into themes. Some talents, like a natural ability to share thoughts, create engaging stories, and find the perfect word, relate directly to communication. That's what they have in common, a shared theme based on communication. So to begin thinking and talking about them, we can call them communication talents. Your distinct Clifton Strengths 34 profile sets you apart from everyone else. Your Clifton Strengths 34 profile is your talent DNA in rank order based on your responses to the Clifton Strengths assessment. The Clifton Strengths at the top of your profile are the most powerful. Similar to your fingerprint, these themes represent how you are uniquely talented. There are nearly 34 million possible combinations of top 5 themes. You heard right, nearly 34 million. Start with your top 5. Develop these Clifton Strengths to make the most of your profile and maximize your potential. Your greatest chance to succeed at work or anywhere else lies in strengthening what you naturally do best and doing more of it. Try this. First, name it. Carefully read the descriptions of each of your top 5 Clifton Strengths themes and identify parts of the theme descriptions that are undeniably you. Try to describe a recent situation when you used each theme. Next, claim it. Reflect on who you are. Think about your experiences, your motivations, how you see yourself. Then, consider how your strongest Clifton Strengths shape you, what you do, how you do it, and why. Share your report with people close to you. Ask for their reaction. Then, aim it. Post your top 5 themes from page 22 of your Clifton Strengths 34 report in a place where you'll see them every day. Start with the suggestions for action in the report. Then, try to find more ways to use your strongest Clifton Strengths in your daily activities. Your talents are an instinctive source of wisdom and power. And as you start to intentionally use your most dominant Clifton Strengths themes, you'll find ways to build on your greatest areas of potential. You have dynamic talents, just waiting to be unlocked and developed. Use your report to name, claim, and aim your most dominant Clifton Strengths themes.
You're just on mute, Yendor. We're missing good stuff
Relax, just as I saw myself. Right. So what's great about the Clifton Strength Assessment is not just the report. You get access to the Gallup portal, where there is a repository of research on strength-based topics, about 1,700 of them or so. Every time you log into the Gallup portal, it says, "Hello, Yvette," and then says, "For your strengths today, you may want to think about the following." So it's a sort of great electronic companion as you start to work with developing the strengths. And then there are video clips and everything that sits behind that. There's also a strength app that comes with it, so you can download it and share your strengths with your friends and family and amuse your partner and spouse and so forth. And that's great for teams. So there's quite a package that sits behind that. And there are different versions of the assessment. You can look at just your top 5, your full 34. Cindy mentioned before we started that there is now a manager report that looks at how your strengths could be useful as a manager, and it gives you your top 10, your dominance. And then next week, in actual fact, we're launching, or Gallup's launching, the new sales strength report. And so every year we'll be updating the reports. The good news is you only have to do your strength assessment once. Strengths are pretty stable, much like your personality, though obviously the range of behaviors can change. And people really struggle sometimes with this concept. I was working with the CEO yesterday, and she continuously said to me that how I behaved at 7 is different to how I'm behaving now. Well, thank goodness, because you're a CEO, right? But the other way to think about it is how you use your talents and strengths at age 7 are obviously very different to how you will use them at 40, because you've developed them, you've added experiences, you've added context, but it's still the same strength. You're just using it in a different way. So the range of behaviors attributable to a strength as you mature and develop is obviously very different to perhaps the underdeveloped immature view of yourself at age 7. So that's this. I think we'll get there with the CEO, but they really seem to struggle with that as a notion. Thanks, Magriet. I think let's hop back onto the slide pack and jump into the next session. So everything is based on this thinking about, first of all, let's look at strengths, then look at strengths in terms of how, what you need to achieve in the context or the work or the team that you're working with. And so what Magriet's going to do now is just take you through a case where she's worked with this team from a strength-based coaching point of view, and just some of the results that we've achieved with that to bring to life of, how a coach can impact the world around them. Thanks, Magriet.
Thanks, Yendor. And just give me a sense if I'm lagging. We just went over to load shedding, so there may be just a blip on the screen there.
No problem, Magriet. As we always say, and I know this is a tremendously unhelpful comment, just pedal faster.
Excellent. Right. So as Yendor mentioned, we work a lot with teams. And when we work with teams, the first question that we ask is, what are you struggling with? We have a conversation with the manager to understand the pain point that's within the team, and how their performance, well-being, or engagement is impacted at the moment. So on the screen, you'll see what we call a team strengths grid. So we've asked this team to complete their Clifton Strengths assessment. We took the results and we put it into a grid which shows us, firstly, the 4 domains of strengths. So these 4 domains is, number 1, executing. So people with executing themes know how to bring the vision into fruition. They know how to get things done. Then you get the influencing domain. They speak up for the team and make sure that the team is heard. Then you get the relationship building domain. They are really the glue of the team. And then there's people with strategic thinking themes or strengths. They help the team to think through information and situations. So the manager was complaining, and this was sort of in the beginning of the year, that his team is burning out. The team gave 200% during the pandemic just to keep the organization afloat, and now they're really being asked to give even more, and they are burning out. And this manager approached BHG and asked us for help. A number of things that you want to look at when you look at the team strengths grid is, number 1, we can see that 8 people in this team of 10 people have in this team of 9 people have responsibility as a top strength. So these people, thanks Yendor, these people, or people with responsibility, they take psychological ownership of what they say yes to. The problem here, or the challenge that we raised with the manager is, yes, you've got wonderful people that will work until midnight. Some will work until 4 o'clock in the morning just to get things done. It's a wonderful strength, if you want to make sure that people and the team meet their deadlines. But from a burnout point of view, these people, they take responsibility and they struggle to say no, and they will just keep taking onto their plate. So we assisted the manager and then this team within a team session to understand the power and edge of the strength of responsibility, how it helps them, but also how it hinders them. And that information really helped people to make better decisions. It also helped the manager to rearrange work and help these people to work smarter and not only harder, because people with responsibility, achiever is there as well. They will just work harder to get things done, and it's not always the smart thing to do. What this manager also did then is the analytical, pulled in analytical. Everyone with the strength of analytical, and said, listen, can you think through our goals? Can you think through our performance objectives and see what is the story that the data is telling us? And perhaps there's room to maneuver. Perhaps we need to pivot. And people with analytical then assisted those with responsibility to relook at the work and not just doing work for work's sake. We then also lastly see that people this manager pulled in people with relator. Okay, they started to spend more time together. They started to go for once a month for a bride, to get to know one another and to really learn how to rely on one another to get through a patch where they really have to work hard and make things happen. So we've helped the manager and the team to see how their strengths help them, how it hinders them, and how they can form complementary partnerships. Thanks, Yendor.
Guys, and that's what a Gallup coach does, either on an individual basis, a team basis, or working with the manager and leader. Part of the certification is all the tools and the approaches that you just see here. It's called the team grid. It comes to you as part of that certification. There's a digital version of this so that you have digital access to tools. There's also hard copy versions of this. And dependent on how you set up your Gallup Access, which is your Gallup portal, you can also export team data into grids like this. So it's all set up to really make you an effective Gallup coach. Thanks, Magriet. And so the key message here is strength coaches help individuals, managers, and teams to discover their strengths using the Clifton Strength Assessment and to understand and appreciate how their strengths help them to be successful in their role. For us, it's moved from being to doing. I always tell this joke. I grew up from a coaching methodology point of view, and Bertie may have come across this appreciative inquiry. And for me, I got quite frustrated with appreciative inquiry, not because there's anything wrong with the methodology, but for me, as an achiever and an executor and so on, it just felt like a bit like a French movie, right? In black and white, 2 hours of people sitting and talking meaningful around a coffee table, drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes, but not much happening, right? And with Gallup, this intense focus on from being to doing really resonated with me, because we're starting to see when you connect with people's strengths is it gives them a confidence to start trying to do things. And it's in that action space that people develop themselves, get better results, and can move the agenda forward. Thanks, Magriet. So this all comes together for those that are interested in the certification process. So this is recognized by the ICF, the International Coaches Federation, which I think Bertie's a member of, so you'll know well. It gives you notional hours towards that. It's recognized locally by Commensa, Society of Human Resource Management in the US, and then of course HRCI, which is the HR certification body. So there's a process. It's almost a lifelong journey, a learning journey that you start with us, and we will be your certification partner. So the first thing to do is that you will need to spend 4 days with us going through the training course. We actually have to teach you how to, obviously be deeply based in strengths, way beyond the report that you've seen today. Learn how to integrate strengths into the Gallup coaching methodology. And we do that in a practical way. So whether you are an experienced coach with 20 years of ICF experience, you will learn new stuff. I promise. And that's the feedback we've had with really experienced coaches. Or if you've never coached a person in your life and you think this is for you, by the end of Thursday, the end of the 4th day, you will be able to practically on Friday start your coaching journey from a strength-based point of view. There's an opportunity to do a full coaching session. We have many different, and we break down the coaching into many different practical steps. And in each step of the way, you will get Gallup material to help you. Gallup's research actually is where the differentiation comes. It's not just strengths, but their research into the types of coaching questions you can ask at each step of the way, we think is a key differentiator. The coaching, when you are a coach, it's not about, it's not you providing solution, but you asking the right questions at the right time to foster that development process. So that's the 4 days. It comes with a full hard copy pack, 4 digital kits and materials. And if you want to have a look at that, you can certainly drop us a note afterwards. And Magriet runs a really great overview of the digital kits. After the 4 days, there are 12 modules of self-directed learning. It is an accelerated learning program. There's those 12 modules to support both the virtual training and the modules. Underpinning that are the ICF competencies for coaching. There is an exam and you have to pass it at 85%. That's an ICF requirement. You have to coach 6 people successfully, and then you become a Gallup certified coach, and a whole lot of then important things kick in. So the end of the certification is not the end of the learning journey with us. And so BHG supports our alumni into perpetuity going forward, and so does Gallup, and we'll give you some insights as to what that means. You also then have to recertify or upgrade every 2 years. That's part of your continuous professional development, your CPD points that the ICF would ask. And it's just really good to keep up to date because Gallup issues new material and information every single year. The entire process, including post-course support, is all included in your once-off price for the program. So it's a once-off price, lifelong value learning journey. Every year, Gallup has a free conference for Gallup coaches, which you're then brought up to date. And then, of course, we offer 4 masterclasses a year as BHG for free as part of that support. Right, I see the chat happening. Magriet, I'm presuming that you guys are going to take that offline. So what's included? 4 digital kits. So literally the digital kits are interactive. So you can use that as your coaching journal. There's downloadable materials. There is information to do everything to do with strength-based coaching. 12 learning in action modules. That's what we call the self-directed learning. Then when you become certified, the good stuff kicks in. You get 350 discounted codes per year. So when you purchase for your clients the Clifton Strength Assessment, you get $10 back into your pocket for each purchase, up to 350. If you sell more than 350, you can come to us and you get a 5% discount. And many of our coaches sell more than 350 a year. Some of them have sold 350 in one go. So that's very possible. The discount, and this is every year that you get it, year 1 discount is equivalent to the cost of your program. So just in code sales, Gallup is really trying to meet us halfway there by saying on the discounts alone, you can recoup the investment of your coaching certification. So if you pay for yourself, that's money in your pocket to pay for your certification. If a corporate pays for you, then obviously it's a benefit to them. Every year, there's the annual Gallup Learning Series where coaches across the world get together and we share updates and so forth. And there's a lifetime support from the Gallup coaching community. So once you're certified, you join the Gallup Facebook page. And listen, you can't keep up with the material and the answers and the enthusiasm. So if you're the type of person that likes a lot of data, a lot of support, an enthusiastic community, and people that are willing to share and encourage you, then this is the right place to be. In actual fact, it is overwhelmingly positive, and that's a nice problem to have. So guys, that really brings us to the end of what we needed to do. I'm hoping that we've addressed the 4 areas that we put in our poll, which is if you want to make an impact on other people's life, then the coaching certification is well worth thinking about. The second one is what strength's all about, is why we think strengths are so important. It's a positive psychology approach to development. It's your best opportunity to become great at in terms of the best version of yourself. The third one, is it a global certification? In other words, if I'm certified, can I coach from Cape to Cairo and Outer Mongolia? Absolutely. And is this what we think a very well thought through and well researched coaching process that has high impact? The answer to that is yes, and Magriet's giving you some indication of the level of sophistication that can. Right. So Mandy, just thank you very much. We'll certainly follow up with you. The next course starts on the 11th of July. We run 5 public programs a year, so 5 courses a year. The next one, 11th of July. And Magriet, I think we've got a couple of seats left there, right? Yeah. Okay. So Mandy will certainly be following up, but 11th of July. If you want to register, you can just simply go to our webpage, which is www.bhg. bhgroup.africa. Thanks, Daria. Guys, that brings us to the end. We're going to hang around for questions because I want to be mindful of time. So if you've got a couple of minutes to ask questions, then you're very welcome to do that. But I'll leave you with this. What would being a Gallup strength coach change for you? That's the power question. Guys, for those that have to drop off, appreciate it and thank you very much for your time. We have recorded this, so we'll share the recording with you and follow up. And we'll also share the special offer. So for those that were brave enough to jump on the call, we're going to offer a 5,000 Rand discount for those that are wanting to certify out of this. But just for if you pitched up, if you registered and didn't pitch up, then we're not offering it. So you brave souls, if you want to go this route, there's 5 grand in your back pocket as a thank you for coming to the party. Okay. So in my world, every little bit helps. Magriet, if you can stop the share. Guys, over to you. Any other questions?
Hi.
Yes.
Shanikia. So I've been listening quite attentively, and
nice.
So I'm very familiar with Strength Finder. We actually a strength-based team, or well, we try and be a strength-based team.
Okay.
So I've been through the coaching process. We use that credit that you've showed and all of those things. So based on that encounter, like I believe that Strength Finder is the best sort of, tool for coaching. So ever since then, I've been sort of interested. Very interested in becoming a coach, sort of being an unofficial coach within the team, because I sort of know the strengths back to front,
right.
because they're quite interesting. I find them quite intriguing. The difficulty for me, and why I think Magriet and I've had a few email conversations, but the difficulty for me is that I'm not in the coaching space. So this route for me would be a completely independent one. It wouldn't be backed by a company. It wouldn't be backed by. So obviously we have an OD in our organization. We've got people that's running these coaches, but it's not something that I can sort of move into, because in terms of a skill set, I wouldn't tick certain boxes because I'm a finance person. So. Yeah, but not according to my talents are very different. So because of that, I really want to end up as coaching, as a career in the career path of coaching. My difficulty is obviously because it's for me having to go this route would be obviously quite a bit of investment on my side in terms of financial investment that obviously I'm putting out there. So I'm a bit uncertain in terms of, so I know that if you were affiliated to an organization, or you're affiliated to sort of a big coaching house, I suppose you would have work more frequently. My concern is, would I be able to initially sort of almost run this parallel to what I do? What opportunity would there be, for example, for me to be able to coach? So let's say if I'm coaching in the evening, to do a time zone that's a little bit later than ours, to get that opportunity. Is that sort of thing is it really established? I know that it's global. I know that Gallup is global, but what's the success rate for somebody like me that needs to start this on a parallel and then eventually grow it into something a lot more tangible? Because realistically, I can't just up and go and say I'm going to be a coach now. I've got a family.
No, sure.
And I've got an income, and I've got all of those things that's stable. So it's the safety, obviously.
Yeah.
And then wanting to move into something, but I need some level of safety net.
Sure.
To do that. So to me, that's been the sort of the hurdle that I need to just.
Yeah. So I was actually chatting to one of our alumni yesterday, because we do periodic follow-ups with them, and that's exactly what she's doing. She's got a good corporate job, and she started coaching as a side hustle. And so essentially she's building up her coaching practice, and when her coaching practice sort of meets her needs, then she's going to slip out and move into running an independent coaching practice. And that's quite popular, and it happens quite often with people that are really passionate about making a career change and so on, but to do that in a responsible way that doesn't put you at risk. So side hustles are absolutely doable, and many of our coaches pick up 2 or 3 hours a week of coaching and build their coaching hours and build their reputation. The opportunity to participate in the Gallup world is large. There's the International Gallup Coaches Portal, which is the shop window where you put your profile and people can see who's Gallup certified or not. We have a coaching panel and so forth. But really what we'd advocate is this is a traditional start your coaching practice in your kitchen with friends and family that are open to it, start segueing to then paid coaching hours, build up your coaching practice, and it may take 2 or 3 years, and that's okay. And then you'll be in a position where you can decide whether this is something you want to pursue full time. And I can reassure you that we've had a couple of finance people change careers and become coaches quite successfully. So, finance people do have personalities, as I always point out. And I say that with a smile, of course. And we have seen some quite dramatic changes. But the reality is you've got to put the sweat equity in, and you're going to be willing to work at it. Because sometimes side hustles become like hobbies. You put them on the table and you never dust them off. So the answer to that is yes. And remember, there are 4 areas of income here. You get paid, you get something for the assessments, you can do coaching, you can do a lot of facilitation around workshops around strengths, and you can start to think about advising organizations how to become a strength-based organization. So a lot of opportunities, and you're only limited by your time difference. So if you look at the UAE, which is I think a time difference of 1 or 2 hours or 2 hours, East Africa, which is an hour, you can fit something in after hours. You're not going to do hundreds of hours every evening. So you got to pace yourself and build to that, but the possibility exists. Is there any way around the initial outlay? Unfortunately not. So hopefully that answers some of your questions, Shanique.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. Well, to give you an insight, I'm a finance person that has who in the top 5.
And nothing wrong with woos, winning others over. And the nice thing about strengths,
it's a bit fun when everyone else sits in number 32.
No, exactly. And if it's saying yes, also started and experimenting with some victims. I mean, some volunteers in your own organization, and build up a profile, and they will refer you. And coaching is about referrals.
Yeah, I have started doing that. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks, Shanique. Great question, and thank you for that. Any other questions, guys? Samira, and then Yvette, you gotta shake it. Samira, your hand was up.
Yes. Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Great information session. I've been eyeing the Gallup program for a while now. I think my own inspirations are that I have 2 daughters, and when I went through the profile of what the sort of being like a coach can help people do, I felt very passionate that as a mom it could help me just do better I mean, the world is thankfully, I mean, there's a lot of awareness now about women empowerment, but I just, felt that as a mom, perhaps they are, I say this in a good way, they are my own little experiment and I want to get it right. I'm just curious about, what the time commitment would require in terms of, for example, from certification, from attending the initial 4 days to, being fully certified. Just, I think you touched on it a little bit in your submission earlier, but I just wanted to get a bit more context.
So,
on that.
Yeah. Samira, great, and you're talking our language, so appreciate it. So it's 4 days with us, 8 to 5 South African time. That's the block that needs to happen, and then writing the exam and the coaching evaluations. That's in your gift, but you have to complete the certification within 6 months. If you focus and go for it, in other words, you apply your mind, get the exam done, get your coaching sorted and all that sort of stuff, there's no reason why you can't be certified in a space of 6 to 8 weeks. Yeah. And in fact, many of our coaches start on day 5 with their coaching. You just get equipped with everything you need. There's no need to wait for the exam, get going, and you coach your first person on the course itself. So you really just need to find 5 friends or family, 5 other friends or family that are willing to go through the process with you, and pick friends and family, Samira. Don't pick the toughest guys, right? We want you to get certified and crack on, right? So hopefully we can see you on the 11th of July. Love that smile. I can see that's good. That's great. Thank you. Yvette, I know we've been keeping you. What's your question?
Not at all. I love listening to everyone else's questions and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Cool, guys. Thank you. So Magriet will know I have actually signed up and we've started the payment plan for July.
Okay, right.
And
nice.
And it was catalyzed. It was a reminder of a Strengths Finders program that I did. I took part, as in we received the benefits
right
of the
as
program,
a participant. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Years ago. And so I have my top 5. I wanted to know from you guys, is there a separate, I get to my 34 as well, or do I go through the whole thing again?
No, they just converted. So in actual
Great.
fact, you've done your 34. They've just given you your top 5 of that. And then, of course, with registration, they're just going to convert that and give you your full 34. No need to redo it again. Unless, of course, you did it in 1852 or something.
Close. I'm not that old.
Right.
But close.
Okay.
Great.
Then you should be fine.
Fantastic.
So it's just a simple conversion. And I quite like it because you don't have to do it 17 times, right?
Yeah. So so it means a lot. But this is great. So thanks for having us. And
look forward to seeing you on the 11th.
Yeah,
right?
excellent.
Okay. See you then. Thank you
good.
so much.
Excellent.
Oh, and then we'll chat about the 5,000 Rand little appearance fee. Thanks, Magriet. That's much appreciated, guys.
Cool. That'll help.
Good. Any other questions? It's nice to see you, Renelle.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks very much.
Bye, Yvette.
Cheers, Yvette.
Lekker to see you. Thanks for the session.
Good. Wilbur, you put your camera on. Does that mean you want to make a short and moving speech, or ask questions, throw money at us? What's on your mind?
All of the above. Just to say thank you very much. I first encountered Strengths about 20 odd years ago, sort of the late 90s, and it's sort of been a distant, flirtatious affair. I've used it very much, and it means a lot in my life. I use it at work as well. And somewhere in 2017, I came across the fact that at that stage I had engagement with Magriet. And we had a phone call, and I was considering accreditation. Didn't happen. Things didn't work out the way I wanted to, and I couldn't see the alignment at that stage. But I always believed. So I'm sort of wanting to have a second shot. It's going to dovetail a lot more, and I'm positive. But let's see where we go. So
excellent.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for the session. It was very informative.
Absolutely.
You're welcome, Wilbur.
Good to see you in person. Put the face to the voice.
Yeah, true, eh? After all these years.
Yes.
It's quite amazing. And it's true. It's true. It's true what you say, Yendor. I wanted to do the strengths test again. And I decided not to, because I've matured, I've changed. My results of 20 years ago and my results of 4 years ago are different in terms of the actual strengths. But what it all boils down to is it still comes into the influencer range. So, I do labor dispute resolution, and believe me, it comes in very handy to have a set of skills like that. So, so thanks very much. And good to see you again.
It's interesting. One of our Namibian alumni does labor disputes in Namibia, and he's having a wealth of benefit using strengths on how to, conflict is just not valuable,
Yeah. Yeah. What I do find is very often in the workplace, I recently had a team of about 15 people, 20 people, and I rated them according to my own system, sat them down, each one, and try to fit them into, I just had a simplified version of what do you like and where are you, and then to see if they fit. And I had people in tears, and I had people telling me, no one's ever asked me this. And I said, how long are you working here? 12 years, 15 years, 10 years. And it's the level of frustration. Now, I experienced the same thing. And it's like a square peg in a round hole. And I'm going through another change where I'm starting to ask, okay, which direction am I going in next? I've been doing this for 10 years. Do I want to continue? Do I want to change? And the barometer is pointing towards change. So that's why I'm keen to look at this again. So, let's see. So thank you very much for listening to me.